If you've ever thought, my heart did something weird, but it stopped, so it's fine, this video is for you. In the next few minutes, you'll hear 7 evidence-based clues that ordinary people notice long before a diagnosis shows up on a test. They're simple, practical, and grounded in real research. Small signals that may point to an irregular heartbeat, also called an arrhythmia. Catching patterns early can mean earlier evaluation and safer decisions. Everything here is explained in plain English and based on credible sources like the American Heart Association and major medical centers. This is educational. It doesn't replace personal medical care. First, a quick reality check. Arrhythmias range from harmless blips to serious conditions that raise stroke or heart failure risk. According to the American Heart Association, atrial fibrillation, one of the most common irregular rhythms, can multiply stroke risk several-fold, especially as we age. That doesn't mean a single flutter equals danger. It does mean patterns matter, context matters, and writing things down can help your clinician see what's really going on. Clue 1 is the humble pulse check you can do at home. Place 2 fingers on the wrist or the side of the neck, breathe normally, and count for 30 seconds. What you're looking for isn't just fast or slow, it's irregularity that has no obvious pattern. A healthy heart can speed up with stress or exercise, but the spacing between beats still tends to feel steady. When the intervals feel like a drummer who keeps dropping the beat, long, short, pause, double tap, that's worth attention. The American Heart Association encourages pulse awareness, and many clinicians teach this simple self-screen because an irregular pulse can hint at arrhythmias such as atrial fibrillation. If you try this, do it at rest, not right after climbing stairs, and don't press so hard you dampen the flow. You'll trick your fingers. If you feel uneven beats more than once, note the time, how long it lasted, and what you were doing. Speaking of what you were doing, that leads to the next clue. Clue 2 is palpitations that start and stop suddenly, sometimes described as fluttering, flip-flops, or skipped beats. Many palpitations are benign. Caffeine, stress, or lack of sleep can play a role. Mayo Clinic notes that while most fluttery sensations are not dangerous, a pattern that starts and stops out of the blue, especially if it's new for you or paired with lightheadedness, deserves evaluation. For some people, paroxysmal, on and off rhythms come in bursts that begin like a switch was flipped. If you can, tune in to the onset. Did it start gradually or snap into fast and irregular? Did it end abruptly? Was there a trigger, dehydration, a heavy meal, an energy drink? The common mistake is chalking every episode up to stress or anxiety. Anxiety is real, but it often has context. Arrhythmias can show up while you're calm. When palpitations are coupled with a sense of pounding in the neck or chest, or you can see your shirt move at rest, that's a stronger signal to log it and discuss it. Clue 3 is unexplained lightheadedness or near fainting, especially when standing up or during a spell of palpitations. Cleveland Clinic emphasizes that passing out, syncope, and almost passing out, pre-syncope, can be linked to rhythm problems, among other causes. The heart is a pump. If it sometimes beats too fast, too slow, or out of coordination, blood pressure can dip, and the brain will complain with dizziness or a gray out. Here's the nuance. If you skipped lunch and stood up quickly, a head rush might simply be low blood sugar or dehydration. But if you've eaten, you're hydrated, and you tilt into a sudden tunnel vision or feel like you're about to drop, especially if your pulse also feels irregular, don't ignore it. Write down the exact moment, how long it lasted, and what you did to recover. A frequent mistake is minimizing near faints because I didn't actually pass out. Near faints still count. They're just as important to bring up. Clue 4 is breathlessness with mild effort that doesn't match your fitness level. You take a short flight of stairs or stroll at your usual pace and find yourself unusually short of breath, with no cold, fever, or known lung issue. NIH's Medline Plus and cardiology guidelines list shortness of breath as a potential symptom when the heart is struggling to keep a steady, efficient rhythm. In some arrhythmias, the heart races without pumping effectively. In others, it's too slow. Either way, oxygen delivery can lag, and you feel out of breath. A simple talk test can help. If a pace that used to let you chat comfortably now forces you to pause for air every few words, and this is new for you, log it. The error to avoid is blaming age or assuming I'm just out of shape if the change is abrupt. Conditioning changes gradually. Sudden shifts deserve a note in a conversation. Clue 5 is nighttime pounding heart or episodes after alcohol. There's a reason clinicians talk about holiday heart. Even in people who don't usually drink much, a night of heavier than usual alcohol can trigger arrhythmias, but it doesn't take a party. According to resources from the American Heart Association and Harvard Health, alcohol can sensitize the heart's electrical system. For some people, even a couple of drinks later in the evening set the stage for 2 a.m. palpitations, thumps that wake you, or a restless, pounding chest. If this sounds familiar, the experiment is straightforward and safe. Try several alcohol-free evenings in a row and see if the pattern changes. A common mistake is assuming only binge drinking matters. For certain hearts, the threshold is lower. Equally important, consider other evening triggers: dehydration, late heavy meals, or certain cold medicines. Clue 6. Lives on your wrist or finger. Wearable red flags at rest. Smartwatches and rings now flag irregular rhythms using photoplethysmography, light-based sensors that infer pulse patterns. They're not diagnostic, but they can be helpful. A large 2019 study from Stanford and collaborators, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, found that when a popular smartwatch notified users of an irregular pulse, a subset did indeed have atrial fibrillation confirmed on follow-up ECG. That doesn't mean every alert equals a medical problem. Noise and movement can fool sensors. But if you keep getting irregular rhythm or high heart rate while inactive notifications, especially at night or while sitting, consider that a nudge to get a medical-grade check, like an ECG or an ambulatory monitor. The mistake at both extremes is either ignoring repeated alerts or panicking after a single blip. Think pattern, not one-offs. And don't rely on the wearable alone to reassure you if your symptoms are strong. Clue 7 is the most urgent. Brief neurological symptoms that might suggest a mini-stroke, also called a transient ischemic attack. We're talking about sudden trouble speaking, one-sided weakness or numbness, facial droop, or sudden vision loss, symptoms that appear and then improve. The CDC and the American Heart Association stress that atrial fibrillation is linked to higher stroke risk, and TIAS can be a warning. If this happens, don't wait to see if it goes away. Seek emergency care immediately. Even if the symptoms resolve, time matters because early treatment can prevent a larger event. The error to avoid here is self-diagnosing it as just low blood sugar, or I slept on my arm funny. When neurological symptoms arrive suddenly, treat them like an emergency every time. Let's put these 7 pieces together in real life. Imagine you've noticed a fluttering chest once or twice a week, mostly in the evening. You're otherwise healthy, but last week you also felt an odd lightheaded spell when you stood to answer the door. Last night, your watch pinged you for irregular rhythm while you were relaxing. Alone, any one of those moments could be nothing, but together, they sketch a pattern worth professional eyes. That's the mindset, not fear, not denial, curiosity plus action. So, what do you actually do with this information? Start with a simple 7-day log. Each time something happens, an irregular pulse, a sudden flutter, breathlessness, a wearable alert, write down the day and time, what you were doing, roughly how long it lasted, and any possible trigger: caffeine, alcohol, poor sleep, dehydration, a new medication. If your device gives you a heart rate graph or a PDF, save it. According to clinicians at places like Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic, These concrete details make a short appointment far more productive because they guide whether you need an in-office ECG, a longer ambulatory monitor, or reassurance and lifestyle tweaks. Next, adjust one small habit today. Hydration is an easy win. Dehydration can make palpitations more likely. Try a glass of water mid-afternoon and another in the evening, a bit earlier than bedtime. Consider caffeine timing. For some people, moving the last coffee or tea earlier in the day reduces nighttime episodes. Alcohol is another lever. Test a 2-week stretch without it and see if nighttime pounding fades. Sleep counts too. Poor sleep stresses the autonomic system, which can destabilize rhythms. If you snore loudly or wake unrefreshed, ask your clinician about screening for sleep apnea. Research suggests untreated sleep apnea can worsen arrhythmias. While you experiment, listen to your body with a calm, scientist's curiosity. If palpitations come with chest pain, fainting, or neurological symptoms, don't wait. Seek urgent care. Otherwise, think of this as detective work. You're not trying to fix anything by yourself. You're collecting clean data to help your clinician decide what's next. A quick word about numbers and fear. You'll hear big stats online, and they can sound scary out of context. For example, the American Heart Association notes that atrial fibrillation becomes more common as we age, and it's associated with higher stroke risk. That's why guidelines emphasize blood thinners in certain risk profiles and rhythm or rate control strategies. But risk isn't destiny. Early identification, targeted lifestyle changes, and appropriate medical care can dramatically tilt the odds. Harvard Health and large cohort studies suggest that managing blood pressure, trimming alcohol, maintaining a healthy weight, and treating sleep apnea are all associated with better rhythm control over time. Let's walk through each clue again with a what to do now lens. If you feel an irregular pulse more than once, especially at rest, try checking on 3 separate days. Same time, same position. So you're comparing apples to apples. Note any pattern. If you're unsure what you're feeling, ask a nurse or clinician to teach you a proper pulse check at your next visit. It's a skill, not a test you're supposed to already know. If palpitations begin and end like someone flipped a switch, time them. 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 10 sudden onset episodes that repeat even a few times a month can still be meaningful. A brief phone video of your neck or chest during an episode, privacy intact, can sometimes show the pounding pattern clinicians recognize. If lightheadedness or near fainting shows up, especially paired with palpitations, sit or lie down immediately and hydrate. Note blood pressure if you have a home cuff. If it keeps happening, that's a prompt to call your clinician. Bring your log so you're not trying to remember under stress. If mild exertion now leaves you more winded than usual, check for other causes: illness, heat, altitude. If none fit, scale your activity for safety while you schedule a check-in. You're not avoiding movement, you're avoiding overexertion until you know more. If nighttime pounding follows alcohol, move last call earlier or skip it for a couple of weeks, and avoid dehydrating drinks late in the evening. If things improve, you've learned something valuable about your personal trigger threshold. If wearables keep flagging irregular rhythms at rest, treat each alert like a sticky note, not a diagnosis. Save the PDF, export the data if possible, and bring it to your visit. Ask, should I try a medical-grade ambulatory monitor? That could be a 24 to 48-hour Holter or a longer patch monitor, depending on your pattern. A study from Stanford's Apple Heart Study team suggests that while false positives exist, many watch alerts can be a useful starting point when followed by confirmatory ECG. If you experience sudden neurological symptoms, trouble speaking, one-sided weakness, a drooping face, sudden vision loss, act fast and call emergency services. Even if the symptoms fade, time-sensitive treatments can prevent a major stroke. The CDC emphasizes that minutes matter. Don't drive yourself. Call for help. Now, a practical 3-step plan you can start today. First, create a 7-day heart log. Use your phone notes or a small notebook. Capture date, time, trigger, what you felt, how long it lasted, and what helped. Second, choose one lever to adjust: hydration routine, caffeine timing, alcohol-free evenings, earlier wind down, or a consistent bedtime. Make a small change and see if your log changes with it. Third, book a visit. Telehealth is fine, and bring your notes. Ask directly, based on this pattern, should we do an ECG or a home monitor? Are there red flags I should watch for this week? Clear questions lead to clear next steps. Let's finish with a rapid recap. The 7 clues to pay attention to are: an uneven pulse you can feel with your fingers, fluttering or skipped beats that start and stop suddenly, unexplained lightheadedness or near fainting, shortness of breath with routine effort, nighttime pounding heart or episodes tied to alcohol, repeated wearable alerts at rest, and any sudden neurological symptom. Treat that last one as an emergency. None of these automatically means something is seriously wrong, and many have harmless explanations. But patterns deserve attention. Notice, note, and ask. Early awareness may translate into more good years doing what you love with the people you love. Before you go, tell me in the comments, which clue have you noticed lately, and what questions do you want answered in an upcoming heart episode? Share this with someone 50+ who shrugs off weird heart moments, and subscribe for practical, science-backed videos on heart health. Next up on Monday's Heart Health playlist, simple foods that support rhythm stability and the truth about magnesium and electrolytes. Educational note: never start, stop, or change any medication based on a video. Use this as a guide to ask better questions and work with your clinician on decisions that fit your life and medical history.